Okay,
Yes.
are you ready?
Yes.
Can you all please stand up and come to the front here and have a look what's on this table? And I'm going to give you 30 seconds from now to look at all the objects on the table and remember what you see.
A placard.
Is it back down? Okay, that's 30 seconds. Can you go and sit down again? Thank you. Well, if you three can work together, and you two work together, and help each other out, and try and write down all the objects that you saw. I'll give you 2 minutes for that.
So you're going to do it.
We saw cone. You can write it. We
Write it down.
We saw paper, scissors.
Comb.
Coins. Pencil. Shaving stick. Bubble gum. Yeah, a bit.
Got a scissors there.
A bit gum. Table.
Scissors.
Oh, comb.
Scissors. Viewer scissors. Scissors.
Oh, right.
So we saw
That's right?
tablecloth.
One more minute. Yeah, I'll try and get everything down.
Plectrum, the stuff for plucking the guitar.
Okay.
Okay, now the pink one.
Stop. Yeah, I've got 2 different words. Can you count how many words you've written down together? We'll go through them. $14. 17, okay, right, well let's see what you've got. Can you just call out the objects as I hold them up? What's this?
Alarm clock.
Okay, good. And we've got a,
Pencil.
yeah, good. And then we've got a pair of,
Scissors.
yeah, good,
Comb.
yeah, good. Then we've got a postcard from Berlin, like that one. And we've got a pair of
Glasses.
sunglasses. Another word for sunglasses, maybe an informal word.
Shades.
Yeah, you can call them shades. What about this thing? Pick or plectrum. Yeah, so generally British English it's a plectrum, in American English it's pick.
What is the British?
Plectrum.
Plectrum?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
It does sound a little bit sort of old-fashioned and
It seems like a
very
really long
formal.
word for the small object.
yes, yeah, it does. Yeah, we call it pick as well, guitar pick. Sometimes we call it plectrum. Yeah. And we've got a razor, shaver, yeah. You can throw these things away, so what's the adjective that can go before? Disposable, yeah. Good. And we've got some, what kind of gum?
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum. That's the activity. When might you do that activity with your students in the lesson? Yeah. Yeah,
It's a
good.
warmer.
Yes, you're all absolutely right, yeah. Well, we're going to look at warmers. I'm just going to give you a few ideas for warmers because it's quite important at the start of the lesson when you imagine that the students have come from environments before the lesson where they haven't been speaking English. You don't just want to throw them into something that's too demanding. So you kind of ease them into the lesson with something fun. This is called Kim's Game. If you put that into Google search, you have a whole lot of TEFL related things. It's from a book by Rudyard Kipling called Kim originally, where they played this game as kids. But more important, more pertinent to you and your TEFL careers is what you can do with this. And as Hansa mentioned, it's not just an activity where you have a load of objects in the bag and then go through them, but what you can do, for example, with low-level students is you can set up an activity afterwards where you say, what's this? And they say, it's a, and then you drill the object. So it's a pen, what's this? It's a fork. And remember that it's really important that students hear lots and lots of examples of these structures before they can pronounce them and use them with confidence. So if you've got this repetition where you go, what's this? It's chewing gum. What's this? It's a battery. What's this? It's a pair of scissors. Then they hear this, what's this? And it's so many times that when you've done this sort of teacher-centered part of the lesson, you can then get them, for example, it's adaptable in many ways, to work in pairs with a bunch of objects you can give them, and they just practice in pairs, holding up an object, saying, what's this? And the other one says, it's a pen, or it's a razor, or something like that. That would be with lower levels. With higher levels, what you can do, for example, as I say, it's really adaptable, is you can ask the students to think of ways that they could use these objects in a way that they're not normally used for. So you've got a comb, and you use it to comb your hair, but what else could you use a comb for? Does anyone know?
Police search.
Police search, so to comb the area. Okay, yeah. If you put a bit of tissue paper over the comb, you can make this kind of kazoo, this kind of weird instrument thing, yeah. But, you know, it's up to their imagination. And it's all about not just the level of the students you've got, but if they're creative students, they'll tend to come up with ideas for that. But the most important thing, I think, is it's just a nice way to lead into the lesson. Obviously, you decide what objects you put in your bag. There can be objects that you find in the kitchen, objects that you find in the bathroom, objects that you find in an office, because this vocabulary is quite important. And you'd be surprised how many students don't know, for example, words like stapler, hole punch. They could be objects you could put in. So that's the first warmer I wanted to look at. And as I say, it's called King's Game. Most warmers involve a little bit of physical activity, because you're kind of literally warming the students up, as well as giving them some English to start the lesson off with in a natural way. It's good to get them moving about a little bit. If you've got young learners, if you teach children, often when they come into the lesson at the beginning, they've got a lot of sort of pent-up energy. And if you're going to do anything focused with them in the lesson, then it's a good idea to give them an opportunity to vent some of that energy running around, whatever it is. And then when they finally sit down, you hope at least that they'll be a little bit more focused for what happens afterwards. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you another activity now. Can you stand up again, please? And we've got two sides of the room. So this side of the room is sun, and this side of the room is moon. So that's sun, and that's moon. And I want you to choose a side and go and stand there. Sun, moon. You don't have to stay where you are, you can choose either side. Okay.
I like the nighttime.
Okay. Yeah, so why moon? Right.
Yeah, I like the nighttime as well.
Okay. Why do you like the night time?
So you can do fun things.
Okay. Why sun?
I like sun because it brings heat and I love being warm.
Okay. Right, this side is Saturday and this side is Sunday. So can you choose a side, Saturday and Sunday?
Sunday,
Oh, okay. Why Sunday?
Because Sunday's the day for like relaxing and staying home in bed, reading. Like versus Saturday is like you go out, you do your errands, you party. But then Sunday is like you relax before the work starts.
Okay, yeah. So then you're getting yourself ready maybe mentally for work because you're not doing anything, you're
Right.
recharging your batteries.
Yeah.
Maybe. Very good. Why Saturday?
Well, Saturday I feel like you can relax and do anything, and you still know that you have a whole other day to relax after that. You don't have anything to do tomorrow, so that's why.
It's that Monday fear.
Exactly, not a fan of Mondays. So.
Yeah. Why Saturday? Same thing. Okay. Okay. This side of the room is the tram, and this side of the room is the metro. Tram, metro.
why do you like me? I'm not going to say.
You're on your own. So can you tell us why the tram? Why did you choose the tram?
Just because that's the only thing I take here. That's
Okay.
the tram gets me
The
to
only way to
school
get
every
here,
day.
isn't it?
It's the only way to get here, and
Yeah.
I know it the best versus the metro. And the metro stops running in the middle of the night. The tram
Yeah.
runs all night, so
What do
You
you
get
get
home
on the trams?
whenever.
Do you like getting on the trams?
yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of an advantage that the tram has over the metro as a place that
Goes
things
more
travel?
places.
Okay.
Versus the metro has a limited line. The tram goes
Yeah.
like to all the outskirts.
More tram lines, that's
So.
true. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. Why metro?
Yeah, metro, because in the metro, it's like you have a shade over you already. The sun will not meet you there, the rain will not, you won't get wet, so
Yeah,
I prefer metro.
that's true. The metro's always cooler, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And why the metro?
Same reason,
Same
it's a
sort of
lot
thing.
cooler.
Yeah. What other advantages does the metro have over the tram? Can you think of anything else? There's one big one I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Fast, you can get to greater distance with that,
Yeah.
and it's more reliable.
It's often referred to as a sun moon warmer. It's definitely a good idea before you go into the lesson to prepare pairs that you feel would work for your class if you know your class. But typically the ones that I presented work quite well. So days of the week, tram, metro. You can ask if you know your class well, you can choose particular cities or countries. So for example, I've done this with Moscow and Berlin, or the US and the UK, or even places in the Czech Republic. They might prefer Brno or Karlovy Vary, I don't know, things like that. Now, one really nice thing I think about this activity is you can do it with absolutely any level, and if you've got beginners, And all you're doing is, in fact, when you think about it, saying individual words, and they're quite easy to understand even for elementary students. So sun, and you can have a picture of the sun, and have a picture of the moon, you can just stick them on the board, and they see that. They don't even need to understand what you're saying, but they see. And then they get the idea of standing on one side of the room. And all you have to say, again, it's this repetition thing, they're hearing very simple sentences repeated. Why, and you say the word, why sun? And if they're beginners, they'll say sun is warm, it is nice. Fine, yeah, that's okay. If they're advanced, they'll say, well, I think of the sun, I remember a great holiday I had several years ago in Greece with my blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. So it finds its own level. It's one of those activities that you can work well with any level, I would say. Okay, and I'm going to present to you one more activity. Now this is an activity, this is a warmer that you can use to revise vocabulary because, as you probably know, we tend to teach quite a lot of new words to students. Obviously you don't want to teach them too many in a given lesson because it overwhelms them and they don't always retain so many. But it's a good idea to review the vocab that you've taught regularly so they don't lose it. And one thing you can do, and we'll try it now, is revise the vocab by drawing it. Now it depends if you can draw or if you can't draw, but you can, most people, I think, what I've found is most people say that they can't draw, but I think most people can draw well enough to do this activity. So what we're going to do is look at food items, and I want you, as soon as you know what I'm drawing, to call out the name of the object. And if you call it out first, you get the points. So,
Apple.
that's it, right? Okay, good. And
Let's see.
Pizza.
Dessert.
I think you got that one.
Cheese.
Bread?
Cheese.
Right, cheese,
Hey.
but I don't know if you've got it, so I'll give you both the points. Okay.
Okay.
And on you go. It tires me out, so I'll stop there. But you need to prepare the words that you teach because A, it has to be words that you've taught with the class before, or that they should know at that level. And of course, words that you can attempt to draw. It's a good one, as I say, for food items, but you can actually go back to the activity that I presented at the start. So if you can draw some of these items, it's a way of reviewing them. And it's also good with students, as I'm sure Jeremy's told you. You've got a variety of different learning styles in a typical classroom, so some students respond very well to actually seeing the object and holding the object even, whereas some students work well with seeing a picture of the object on the board. So just a way of consolidating vocabulary and making sure that they see it presented to them regularly. I'm going to mention, I don't want to do it with you, but I'm going to mention one more warmer activity, and it's a sentence building game. And this is one I like to do. With bigger groups it works well, and I would say with intermediate level students and above. And all you do is you build up a sentence going round the room, and every student adds a word, and obviously it has to make sense, and it has to be grammatically correct. And what I do is give them these 3 rules. So they shouldn't hesitate. So when it comes to their turn, they shouldn't go for more than 3 seconds, let's say. But you can alter these rules, of course, depending on the class. No, of course, no Czech or whatever language, the first language of the students you're teaching is. And of course, no mistakes. So it should be logical. It should have some sort of flow. And another rule that you can sometimes add is tell them not to use these words. No and, no but, or because. So what happens is you can start the sentence by saying I
When?
I went,
Tomatoes.
one word.
2.
What did you
I
say?
said
Yeah.
Park.
When?
I.
Didn't.
Feel?
good.
Okay, good. And so it goes on. And what happens is if the student breaks one of these rules, they're out. And I always tell them to move physically out of the circles, then you can see who's still in the game and who's not. And it builds and builds, and it gets more exciting and more interesting, because what you're left with at the end of the game is just 2 students who are actually going, I went to that, and it gets very intense, and then one person goes, and then you stop it and you say this person's the winner. So that's some examples of warmers. I hope you
What do you call this?
try them out. I just call it sentence building game. I don't know if there's a special sort of term for it. Good, thank you.
Good.
Good luck with what you do in the future. I'll maybe see you around, and I'll hand you over to Jeremy.